Now, Expedition 40 began on board the International Space Station in mid-May. It runs through mid-September, when Swanson, Skvortsov, and Artemyev returned home, which makes this roughly the midpoint of this increment. And today we get an update on the science of this mission from Yuri Guinart-Ramirez, who is the Expedition 40 lead increment scientist. Good morning. Halfway through this increment, has there been a science highlight so far?
Good morning, Pat. Thank you for having me again. We have had the initiation of Expedition 40 with a tumult of activities. SpaceX 3 was completing its mission, and we wrapped up all of the crossover science that took place during that mission. And after that was completed, we were able to engage in the completion of several, and initiation and completion of several of the experiments that arrived. Like Opals, for example, on the external platform side of the house, we were able to finish all the checkout, activation, commissioning type of activities, and successfully transmitted a data set in a video, a high-definition video, from the station via laser.
Right.
And that was very exciting to see that the technology worked really well. The investigation will continue to understand better the characterization of the atmosphere and how that interferes with the laser communication. And but it certainly is opening up our ability to transmit bigger and larger types of files in a much more fast time.
I mentioned earlier in the program today the work with an experiment called Force Shoes, and this has just gotten started in the last couple of days. What is that about? What are the crew members doing here?
That's right. We have several countermeasure exercise devices on station to keep the crew's health, as most everybody is aware. In microgravity, the body suffers a toll by not having that constant pull of the gravity, right. So we have to work very hard at maintaining that that muscle mass in the bone atrophy prevention. So one of the exercise devices that we have on board is ARED, and one of the pieces that we've been missing is being able to correlate the data of the force that is being impacted as the crew members perform the exercises. And as you mentioned earlier, we will be able to take this data and analyze it and be able to come up with much more customized workout for the crew members, which has a range of applications down here on Earth as well for folks that may need a very specific set of exercise devices.
And they're going to be wearing these shoes that are somehow helping to measure the forces that are being imparted up toward them.
That's correct. That's exactly how it works. And they'll collect the data, transmit it down for the community to review. They will go through a range of pound force measurements and try to characterize how the ARED is impacting that, imparting that load.
There's also a new experiment that's, I believe, coming up on the Cygnus vehicle next week that has to do with the clothes the crew members wear.
That's right. You know, one of the questions that people may or may not think about is we don't really have a good way of doing laundry on space.
We have no way of doing laundry.
There's no washing machine, right? Once you wear an apparel and it's worn to the very end, you have to dispose of it. And there's a lot of upmass cargo that comes up that we dedicate to be able to have the clothes for the crew members. Typically, we use cotton type fabrics, and in this investigation, they're looking at new types of material in these fabrics that are not only lighter in the weight aspect, which can reduce the upmass, but they're also treated with antimicrobial type of
some kind of
substance treatment to prevent that bacteria growth. So we are trying to figure out how long can we have the crew members wear these clothes. Will it last a lot longer than their cotton counterparts? And by virtue of the crew member being able to wear it longer and it being lighter, it'll save upmass that will allow us to bring other cargo. But it will also by not having the cotton fabric may also reduce maintenance on station because of all the filters that get clogged up with the materials. So we're looking at several benefits, and of course some of the applications could be down here on Earth. We might be able to have that for areas with remote locations where laundry is not as
Speaking of upmass, the Cygnus vehicle is carrying a lot of different experiments that are coming from students around the world. What kind of things are these experiments looking into?
It's really fascinating to look at some of the descriptions of the students' hypotheses that they've come up with. The range is wide in variety. You have anywhere from radiation investigations to growth of different kinds of plants, impacts on even a jellyfish type of investigation where they're looking at whether or not growing in space could affect the ability of the jellyfish to essentially know which way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Its navigation kind of system as part of the vestibular system.
Right.
Anyhow, just a really wide variety. Those are just some of the examples that come to mind.
And these are a lot of them being coordinated through a private company that's helping to arrange the flight of all of these.
Exactly. Nanorox, excuse me, is a company that's bringing a lot of these. We're bringing two types of experiments on Orb 2. One of them are coming in the Nanorox modules, if you would, that will be connected to the platforms on station and will be run that way. And then the other set are run through mix sticks, where the crew will essentially activate them by engaging the mix stick and breaking it through and having those contents mix.
Beyond the things that are on Cygnus, what are the give me two of the other things that we should be looking forward to in the rest of Expedition 40?
Well, we definitely have another education-focused activity coming up with Spheres Zero Robotic. This is a competition that is held annually with students from all over the world, and MIT coordinates that. And the Spheres facility, which we've already seen a couple of other investigations being used for that, will host this Zero Robotics competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll be very exciting to see that. We're also continuing all of the BAS combustion experiments in a counterpart investigation called Flex2 that also looks at combustion and trying to understand how to make better fuels out of those. So a lot of that, I did want to mention, we also have the types of investigations that you don't see actively performed in the human body. There's a variety of investigations that are coming up where we only take data from the crew members before they fly and after they return, and they'll be investigating some of those. And it's interesting because you don't see that happening, and we often forget to mention it. We don't have an activity. We don't have anything that you can directly correlate to that.
But it's another example of the crew members being experiment subjects, even though they're not doing something specific to that experiment during the time they're up there.
Exactly.
Finding out how they're impacted.
Exactly.
Well, looking forward to seeing what comes next. Thanks very much. Yuri Guinart-Ramirez is the Expedition 40 lead increment scientist.